Okay, but it is 1 o'clock and this is the time we want to get this going. We want to make sure we get a full session here. Hello, everybody. My name is Ray Bendisi. I'm from Tech and Learning. Just a little opening here, and then we'll hand it off to the good people here at FileWave. Thank you for attending today's Tech and Learning Future-Proofing Your District Plan conference. I hope you've been having a good day and been getting a lot out of this, a lot of great sessions out there. First of all, I want to do a special thank you to some of our sponsors, FileWave, CatchOn, Classcraft, Global Teletherapy, GradeCam, Sanford Programs, and also thank you to all our association partners that we have too. Today's virtual conference is focused on taking lessons learned from the current remote learning programs to create long-term plans that support effective teaching and learning both online and in person. I want to remind everyone to log into the Conference Hub using the link sent in your confirmation email. Once you're logged in, you can visit a sponsor booth to learn about their offerings and book a meeting or live chat with them. See your personalized agenda. You can network with more than actually 2,000 of today's attendees via the registrant directory and chat features. Access all of the conference resources in the download section. And you can win prizes. Throughout the Conference Hub, you will find several buttons to enter yourself into our passport to prizes. Please visit all of the pages using the navigation bar on the top of the page. Every time you find a button and fill in the form, you will earn 1 entry into the raffle. All entries are eligible for a series of prize drawings, but only 1 prize per participant. You can enter once for every button you find. We'll announce the winners via email at the end of the conference. Just before we begin, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. If you have any questions for the presenters during this webinar, please submit them through the Zoom chat feature. Please know we capture all questions and our presenters are happy to answer them as time permits. Today's slides and additional resource materials are available and may be accessed within the Downloads tab of the Conference Hub. We encourage you to download any resources or links that you might find useful. And be sure if you're talking about this on social media to use the hashtag #TLTechLive. That all being said, thank you all for being here. We love that you're taking your time out on your Friday to learn about all this with us. And I'd like to now hand it over to FileWave and our speakers, Stephen Mirante and Michael Hughes.
Thanks, Ray. Let me make sure my screen share is okay. All right, so as Ray mentioned, my name's Stephen Mirante. Great to be here. Always love working with the Tech and Learning team. And as you mentioned, if you do have questions in regards to anything that we're talking about, I've got definitely my team members standing by to answer those. We really, of course, scaled back these presentations because we wanted them to be very informational of what's going on right now, you know, the different device management approaches, obviously, specifically on how FileWave is kind of is literally allowing all devices to be connected, right? That's one of the biggest problems that we're uncovering now with districts. And as devices are starting to come in over so much right now, it's a never-ending story, right? Orders have been placed. We're hearing different things about being delayed till June. And now it's like, how do we take care of these? And so that's what today's session is going to be about. So like I said, if you have questions, please do chat them. So starting off a little bit about FileWave, as you can see, you know, we're all about enabling those end users, right? But again, across all those platforms, when we understand the device management, the MDM, the UEM, Unified Endpoint Management industry is pretty vast, right? There's a lot of players out there. And so we want to be respectful to all of them. And, you know, hopefully everyone here has a tool or few to, you know, do the things necessary to keep the learning going. But again, yes, FileWave is a cross-platform tool. We have been for over 20 years, and we want to continue supporting our end users, especially in education. Now, just for a little bit of familiarity with FileWave, we always get asked, of course, where is FileWave located? Our headquarters are in North America, Indianapolis, Indiana, where I am today. My kids just finished up school, so it was really good to see that. I've got 2 middle schoolers and 1 grade schooler. I will say they had a little bit of fun, a lot of Zoom sessions as a lot of people across the country are finishing up in different realms. But we are based, like I said, mainly in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's where all our support teams are. And then we have a lot of strategic offices, as you can see, around the country. So as I said, strategically placed, right? Because a lot of you are everywhere, and 90% of our customer base here at FileWave is education. And so when we truly speak to educators and IT staff within those districts, we understand what you're going through, right? A lot of our staff have come from working in school districts, and that just makes us that much more helpful when, especially in this time, just figuring out what to do at last minute. So whatever those questions are, we want to be helpful. We do, of course, want to do a shout out to a lot of our organizations. These are just, a very small percentage, right? Less than 1% of our customer base across North America, some of which I'll talk about at the end. They've allowed me to kind of share their story on how they've been accomplishing the COVID crisis and getting those devices out to students. So we'll definitely talk about that. But as you can see, all different shapes, sizes, that it doesn't really matter what the organization looks like. That's the benefit of when we're talking about cross-platform manageability. And that's all we want to provide, and ensure that schools and administrators have the necessary tools they need to. Now, a little bit of fun here, right? As we're kind of finishing up the remote learning aspect, this is what it should look like at home, right? Or hopefully the majority of our families, experience, right? Or you get a little bit of frustration. And yep, I can admit I was one of those parents who are like, I don't remember this at all. Right. And so we want to give thanks once again to the IT staff, all the school district faculty and staff. You guys have done a great job coming from a parent. It's been really amazing how quick everyone was to act. So many different great stories across the country, and a lot of great sessions already today. We've talked about different Wi-Fi, getting Wi-Fi out there, whether it be with hotspots or school buses. Right. The stories are awesome. Right. And so we hopefully keep hearing that, and keep learning and just being ready for whatever happens with the new school year. Now, as I mentioned, we kind of scaled this back because I really wanted to adhere to you today in a conversational form in what we're hearing within our industry, right? Device management, right? And so these are the top 5 things initially that we're hearing from IT teams. Number one, probably the most vocal, is I need to connect outside of my network. And believe it or not, a lot of organizations, hopefully not you, but a lot of organizations are finding that their infrastructure was not ready, or their tools, not necessarily their infrastructure, but their tools they had were great inside the building, but when they left, they're unable to deploy software or update or provide that help desk functionality. And so the next one is obviously managing that growing complex device environment. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of devices coming in, right? That is happening. Nothing's going to stop it. But are they all one type, right? Are they Chromebooks? Are they Windows? Are they iPads? Are they Macs, right? Android devices? It doesn't matter, right? They're all coming in, maybe different ways, different expenditures are being used. So once they're out there, though, if you're letting the students and faculty and staff keep them over the summer potentially, or you go get ready now in these next few months for that next handout cycle, if it doesn't turn back to in-school normalcy, how do we track these assets, right? A lot of devices have went out right now. And again, I'll share some real life stories here at the end about devices just went out. And it was one of the biggest things in talking with different CTOs and directors around the country is like, we're already preparing on losing 10 to 25+% of these devices, right? Because again, we're doing what's right by the student, which is awesome, but we're probably not going to get them back in most cases. So how do I track my assets? My staff's spending too much time now troubleshooting all these different devices, right? Because we've got different tools. Some work outside, some work within. And so again, it's just a growing complexity. And then again, we have multiple management tools to do all this, right? So with IT staff, it's never been a different story, right? Devices grow, device quantities grow, but the IT staff stays the same, right? And so what do we do? So, and again, discussing with CTOs across the country, it's like we need to, unify our front, build that ecosystem, not just on device management, but what does my device management program connect to, right? What other aspects, whether it's my wireless, whether it's my filtering, all the different programs that are necessary in school today, we want to make sure that we're bridging that gap and making sure that they're speaking to everyone else. Now, I built this to kind of, again, touch on some of the main aspects here about FileWave and what we're seeing utilized right now, right? So there's an array of different functionalities when we talk about IT management, of course, right? But so we'll go through these and kind of just touch on the different ways FileWave kind of adheres to them. So one of the biggest things right now is coming right off the school year, now getting ready for that next what if, is getting those devices ready, right? Through imaging or provisioning. Just this week, earlier this week, we started imaging 30,000 Windows machines with Cincinnati Public Schools, amazing team. And they also have like 20,000 Apple devices that are already out and they don't know if they're gonna bring them back in. And so getting these devices ready and to just hand to our users and say, you're good. But then the questions come up, right? Can we deploy what everyone's asking for? And I know everyone has here probably understands what I'm saying is that, yep, we let the devices go. Our teachers, our students, other administrators asked for content to be sent to them. Can we deploy software completely outside our network? Can we deploy applications, simple URLs, right? Just making that stuff readily available, no matter where they're connected. If they're coming online, offline, it shouldn't matter based on the tool set. But the coolest aspect there is just providing that content as an on-demand option, right? With that self-service option. We know a lot of tools out there have that, and it's nice to have, right? Because instead of your IT staff or support staff just getting all kinds of different questions and requests on the same stuff, now you can just go ahead and put that content out there, right? Allow your end users, without ever having to be admins, if you're a district that keeps everything locked down, you can still provide that content on all different platforms to just be readily available to the end users. And again, it can be all the way from the creative suites, the office programs, all the way down to a simple document, right? Just letting any type of content out there for the end users to grab when they're ready. But then more importantly, keeping these devices secure and up to date. Again, that's one of the attributes that we have found that most people are having a little bit of trouble with, is just being able to, again, deploy patches, right? Straight from Microsoft or straight from Apple, but through FileWave, we allow that on all the different device types. So any and all updates, even third-party updates, making that easily accessible to the end users. Remote desktop is the first kind of front into that help desk feel, right? When we're dealing with all these different device types, specifically on remote desktop being on Windows and Mac right now, a quick announcement, obviously, for the group. We are working on that right now to add that for the Chrome, which is really exciting with our partnership there. But I'll talk about that later. So remote desktop is another big piece of FileWave, right? Because it can be accessed outside of the network if authorized, right? So that's a big thing right now, especially within education. It's like, no, we don't want to do that. And that was our approach, of course, like many other things that we're all learning right now, is that, once it leaves the district, we need to have it a little bit more secure and locked down. But now districts have found that they can authorize that, and with permissions, to select people to still provide that help desk field, jump into machines, fix them on the fly, not having to have them come in to us, get out of their homes or comfort zone and have just for a simple checkup, right? So being able to remote into those machines. And then device tracking, right? We can't get enough of that. It's probably one of the hottest topics right now because it's one of the simplest, right? I just want to be able to see my fleet. What's going on out there? Once they're out there, can we get them back? Can we try to locate them if they do get stolen or lost for good? What capabilities do we have from remote wipe, making sure all the content it can get off of there so the users aren't having access to it, and so on and so forth. So really nice attributes there. And then it comes to what, we have all these devices out there, or in general, just like a normal school year, right? How do we keep track of all of our assets, right? So FileWave does act as a full inventory system. There's over 300 plus fields we allow organizations to choose from, all the way to right now, simple searches as show me where all my Windows 10 machines are, or Windows 7, or heaven forbid XP. We still support it, right? Or all my iPads, right? And what version are they on? When's the last time they're checking in? That's a big one with remote learning that I love seeing schools do, is from a family check, they could run reports, and they were running reports to say, hey, we know that we do our learning cycles Wednesday to Friday, All right, so we can now run reports to say, hey, let's check in on our devices and see which ones haven't been turned on during those phases. Why should we put check in with those families sooner than later, right? Is there something wrong, connectivity, whatever it may be, just to make sure that we're staying in contact with those that we see disconnected. License management, obviously software has been, and application purchases have been continuing, right, to enable these devices. And so keeping track of that, keeping in compliance. So when, applications and software licenses are purchased, whether it's directly connected with the volume purchase program with Apple or manually entered into FileWave, we give the inventory staff or IT staff, whoever's managing it, the ability to keep a running total, right? How many did we purchase? How many did we send out? Where do the licenses exist, right? Can we get them back and reassociate them to the next class or a different class on the fly and not have to purchase more to be cost effective? And then the software analytics. So this is the first kind of play to where we work with one of our partners. So with our software usage built in within FileWave, we can show you how often the software has been launched, how long it's been run. But one of our good friends over at Catch On, who's also a great partner of the Tech and Learning event today, they use FileWave to deploy the Catch On tool to all the devices, right? And so we really like hearing that because they really take that usage analytics to the next level, and we love working with them. Now, the next two attributes are kind of unique to FileWave, but have shown the continued importance behind them. Number one, self-healing. What we're seeing is that when software is deployed outside of COVID, is at any case, even in your in-school, you're deploying software, you're deploying content to your end users, and you as a team, the support staff, want to know that it's going to work the same way today as it does in 100 days. But our users are smart. It's not a question either. They can maliciously or accidentally break or change different programs. They can figure it out, right? And so FileWave has a built-in intelligent client to automatically protect that software or content. So if the users are making changes or they're moving it somewhere it shouldn't be on their desktop or outside of a file, by default, every 24 hours, we've made sure those devices auto reset themselves, right? Even on laptops out there in the wild, connected to any network. By default, your content will go back to the way it in a working form, even if it was broke. So this is really great to just have that option to know that, hey, we deployed it out, it's secure. If the user breaks it, they can just reboot their machine as well. And upon reboot, FileWave is going to do a file check to make sure that it's running properly, right? Now, the auto resuming deployments, if anyone has sent out a normal MSI or PKG, and you know how painful it is to know that it didn't get there in the first place because the devices weren't on, or nevertheless, the other option is that you've deployed it out, you've seen the deployment begin on tens of thousands of devices, but then it disconnects, it gets canceled, right? Because our users, in a lot of cases, don't know they're getting content, and that's great, right? We don't want to interrupt their day. And so with FileWave, you can deploy content in the background. If the users become interrupted at any point, whether it's just simple connectivity or they're going from one Wi-Fi network to another, FileWave literally just goes dormant. And when those machines come back online and connect to a network and check in, even outside the district, FileWave is going to automatically resume those deployments. So it's a huge peace of mind, especially with limited staff in some cases, to just know like, hey, we've sent it out. We know it may take a couple days based on how we scheduled it, but it's going to get there, right? We don't have to run reports and say, hey, who didn't get it? Please stay online for the next couple hours if it's a major deployment, just making that readily available there. Now, the device discovery is kind of unique within your DMZ because this is going to allow you to kind of keep a good eye on what is actually connected to the network. And on one session today, it was it's awesome to hear, but these are the stories that are happening, right? We're not necessarily one-to-one, but as soon as we opened closets, we found devices and we were one-to-one because we just had that number of devices. So this is a great way for you to do a discovery of everything that's connected, not only district owned, but anything. And then lastly, with our strategic integrations, this has been crazy helpful right now because again, as I mentioned before, FileWave's all about bringing the ecosystem together, right? So whether it's just device management and then filtering. So Content Keeper is one of our great partners, along with Hayes Software for asset tagging and to do that checkout and check-in model, as well as help desk functionalities. So those are just a couple to name, but we know there's a lot of different programs that we do integrate with through our API. So once again, all of that content can be together, right? We don't want districts to run in that siloed approach anymore, because you guys know, as leaders, staff, everyone on here today, you don't have the time, right? There's never enough time, and we're feeling it too. And so we want the tools that you have working together, right? Break down the silos, unify the front. We are able to do all of this because of our long-standing existence in the industry. We do have direct partnerships with Apple, Microsoft, and Google to continue to build upon the Chrome front as well. So we're really excited about that. Next, to kind of go a little deeper on how we're doing this, right? How are we enabling organizations to seamlessly connect outside the district? And again, we know every organization is different, right? Some people may not be feeling the same pain as others, but we want everyone to know that there is a way, right? There is a way to do it, and a secure way to do it as well. So with FileWave, of course, we do support any server backend for the most part, right? You can do one of our pre-built VMs on premise, or you can put it in the cloud, right? But no matter your server specs, we again want you to be able to connect completely over the network to your different communities. So we utilize our booster technology that allows you to have different proxy servers set out and pointed to different groups of devices. Now, these could be based on class sizes or schedules or buildings, right? What this allows you to do is point that booster outside of your DMZ, and so that your devices now can continue connecting to any type of communications you're sending on the fly, right? You don't have to worry about it. But again, keeping your internal network secure, right? All of your information. This is a great way for organizations, especially when they're moving large amounts of data. They can actually cache it locally at that booster that's at that site, right? Or pointed to specific groups of devices. So if they're getting ready to do a creative suite, or again, an office deployment, or any one of those major AutoCAD programs, right? Heavy lifting functions, you want to be able to just, hey, let's prep it, let's get it out there. And then any of those devices that it needs to go to, we'll pull it down there locally, right? So keeping the rest of your wide area network traffic to a minimum, right? So you can divvy that up. Organizations can have any number of boosters, and on average, they can support anywhere to 3,000 to 5,000 per. So it's really, really nice, and they really run nicely next to the Apple caching servers for you having those Apple environments, right? So we want to make it very easy. We don't want there to be an additional cost to that as well, right? Budgets are being cut all over the place, and that's one of the greatest things that we're proud to speak to, is that we are in high support of ensuring that you can not only do it today, but for the next several 10, 20 years, right? We want you to have the technology in a cost-effective manner. This is also how you can enable external imaging, right? So you can do site-based imaging potentially if they are connected, not necessarily through Wi-Fi, but if they are through Ethernet. If you're getting from a prep standpoint right now, devices, if they're coming back in, a great way for you just to get those devices now ready for the next run, okay? Now, just kind of to reiterate some of the different main touch points that I wanted to hear for this session, is to just go back again. These are the discussions we're having with districts right now. And what's really awesome about my FileWave team all across the world, for the most part, is that whether we're talking about FileWave or not, we really just ultimately want to be a resource. A lot of our staff, as I mentioned, came from education, right? They worked in the trenches just like your teams are now. And we want to make sure that we're sharing the knowledge that we have, right? I would never trade anything for the work that has been able to be accomplished in my time here at FileWave with education. I love it. And I know I've seen a lot of you and hope to again out in the field. But these are the discussion points, right, that we're having with teams, just from a consultant standpoint, right? Again, FileWave aside in a lot of cases, we just want to make sure you have the tools. What are the different operating systems getting ready to be sent out? What's being purchased? How's it going to be deployed? Are you going to prep the devices before they get handed out, or are you going to be deploying content thereafter? Again, are we going to be able to track these devices, right? If we, for whatever reason, don't start the school year off just the same, we still are in a remote classroom scenario, can we make sure that everybody, devices are where they're supposed to be from a county perspective per se? And then again, just continuing to get them all the content they need, no matter what, right? Again, all the way from software applications, even drivers. You can send drivers out, third-party apps, anything that needs to go out to these devices. Don't be restricted just from within your four walls, all right? Are the devices secured and updated, right? Whether you're doing it through Active Directory on the Microsoft side, sending out those updates through SUS server, or again, having a tool that embeds the direct connect through Microsoft for those patches. And then ultimately, like I said, I've already repeated it multiple times, connecting outside of your district network. How are you doing that? Are we set up? What ports need to be accessible, but how do we do that as well as remain secure, right? That's a big administrative question, right? That's great that we can connect, but let's make sure that we continue to be secure. Is the plan to still have that curbside appeal, right? Are we still having to have our devices come within our parking lot to do some troubleshooting, right? If you've got the right tools, or FileWave in general, we can allow that, right? We want you to not have to touch the devices to do any troubleshooting or again associations. Again, we spoke with the district yesterday, a few thousand devices. And he said himself, we basically worked out a schedule with our families to say, hey, we have new content for you, but we need you at some point to drive within these parameters to connect to our internet so we can send out that deployment. And so then that's real world. That's happening right now. And so if we have a solution for that, we definitely want to share it. And then kind of going future, right? That future-proof mentality, as we're all kind of talking through today. Are the current tools you have working now? Great, but will they work for what's next or for the next unknown, right? We all hope it doesn't happen again, but it happened once. And as we all know in technology, it only needs to happen once for the questions to be asked and the solutions to be possibly found, right? And then how will budget cuts affect you, right? This is a very sensitive part because of our knowing of education, right? Budgets are budgets, right? Cuts happen, increases happen. The CARE Act is out there. It's amazing. A lot of districts have used that already, are going to continue to use those funds during the summer to better equip themselves for, again, whatever's next, right? So we want to talk with you through that and make sure that if for the areas that we have knowledge in, we're going to share and help kind of build that and round that out. And then bottom line, this is something coming from our CTOs again. And I used Dr. Thompson a lot at San Antonio ISD. He's one of a close friend, but at the same time, he's like, we as leaders, we as organizations, we've got to have our teams not knowing how to work all these different tools, right? We've got something for Microsoft, we've got something for Apple, we've got something for Android, right? But can my team jump on any one of those programs at any given time? That's the question, right? And as we all know, right, we've all felt it in some way or another. Someone gets sick, right? Someone's unavailable, right? Or they just leave in general for good or bad reasons. But we need to just figure out how can we unify the teams with the tools that we have, right? Is it a tool that can accomplish a lot of what multiple tools can do, but within one? And it allows our teams to now have one training platform, one knowledge base to go to, and ultimately one support team to go to, right? If I've heard it 1,000 times, it's hey, I have to call 5 different companies for support. And so we want to be able to solve that for a lot of the organizations, right? And that's what we're here to do. Now, kind of closing out here, as I mentioned, I wanted to share one of the more fluent stories that we've been a part of here with our team in San Antonio. And this is very much taking place throughout the country, right? And so kudos to you. I've heard some great stories already today in some of the more leadership strands. So it's happening, right? You guys have really rallied together, worked as a team, worked as communities to just ensure students continue learning, right? And so kudos goes to our team at San Antonio. It was amazing how quickly they dispersed the initial 30,000 devices, and they just rolled out 50,000 more Chromebooks this week. So it's amazing to see those powered by numbers. Again, we know we don't have as many staff as we want or need, but we gotta find the teams and the partners, right? The solution partners that are working with you. And aside from today's sessions, I know that myself, as well as many of you, have probably been on a lot of different communicative sessions across the country. And it's so great to hear about solution partners. And again, I always say it, FileWave aside, that if we can be a partner with you and we can guide you down the direction, and again, if FileWave's not the result, that's okay. We feel that we're a great fit for all types of organizations for what we do. But again, ultimately, we want to make sure that you guys have the tools that you ultimately need. So, all right. And then just kind of closing it out here, we definitely appreciate everyone's time. I wanted to kind of leave you just with a recap overall on what's upcoming with FileWave. And again, what's in it for being next, right? So we do have our staff dedicated here in the US. What's really nice about our different regions and the different states across the country is they each have an engineer dedicated to them. And so that's been really helpful right now because of I do not like using the word free, as many of you leaders know that as well. Free is not free, so I will not use that, but we have given organizations that need to get content out there. We've been able to spin up those environments with a dedicated engineer, so they don't have to think through that process too much, just so they have the tools they need. But like I said, we're very happy to do those discovery calls with you. Just have that overall review. Let's just review. Let's have a conversation of what tools are in place now. Where can we help, right? How can we unify that front? Obviously, cost with budgets, we want to do an analysis with you, right? And so we have the tools to do that, to kind of look at everything. There may be 7 different tools that can be combined within under one roof. And what does that mean? How does that look from beyond 2020, right? And then at any given time, we'd obviously love to meet with the majority of you after here. So we are an open book, right? We love our users, we love our customers, we love our partners, right? We're here to ultimately help. That's what we are. Obviously, I discussed a lot of key attributes today about FileWave. The biggest takeaway we always want to make sure everyone keeps in mind is that FileWave has always been developed internally, but also developed as an all-in-one solution, all right? So we do not modularize our program. So when users have it, they get everything, right? And so that's really nice to know, especially with an array of different devices, what features and functions do we have? Knowing that you have it all just gives the organization, leadership, budgeting much more peace of mind. And that's how we like it, right? Including support, all right? And one of the other things that have been extremely flexible, especially in larger organizations, is the ability to just have a flat license. There's a lot of site licensing programs out there aside from FileWave, and that really, especially when in a one-to-one scenario, is a great way to kind of future-proof potentially your budget, right? Because you know that you've got your cost in line, and now we don't care what's coming in, right? I could have 5,000 devices today, but then in 3 months I'm going to have 15,000, right? But what else do I have to purchase? What solutions do I need? With district licensing, it's really the great way for a lot of programs now just to say, hey, look, we've got what we need. It doesn't matter what type of device it is in FileWave sense. We know that we've got the deployments. Baldwin County, Alabama, great team, customer for so many years now. They tell a great story, right, of their travels of 50,000 Apple into now 40,000 Chrome and beyond. But over their 10 years with FileWave, it's just so great to hear. It's the biggest compliment is that the one thing we didn't have to change, going from Apple to Microsoft to Chrome and now everything, we didn't have to change our management approach, right? And so again, just kind of future-proofing your deployment overall. We've got 2 great panels coming up over the next course of the next few weeks, one of which is an amazing district leader panel, which is also a lunch and learn. So I definitely want to promote that. It's going to be great. It's a great national event that we're going to host. We've got about 9 different districts from across the country going to join, of all different sizes, because we want you guys to be hearing a lot of this from your peers, right? Not just from FileWave. And so we're so excited to put that on. It's been in planning now for a little while, and we've got a great lineup. So, but I'm glad I was able to keep it under 45 minutes. So hopefully we can give a little bit, everyone a little bit more of a break here. but we will kind of check out the Q&A and see if there's any questions. And we'll definitely stick around as well. Like I said, just to make sure we are covering everything. So let me pull this up. So there was a question on BYOD. And so that BYOD is great, right? Because again, if you're not purchasing devices, how can we ensure that, can we manage the, family-owned laptop? Yes. As all we do is, and we put the FileWave client on a laptop. So either it's a Windows or Mac, or even if it's an iPad, we need to enroll it. It'll remain their personal device, but at the same time, you'll then be able to have, send it profiles or send it applications, settings for that matter, software, documents, web links, right? You can now deploy that within a BYOD scenario. So great question there. Let me see if there's any others. All right, a lot of good chats here. Let's see if I can open that. All right, there we go. All right, and any members of my team, if there is one, I see there was a laundry list of chats, which is excellent. Is there anything that I need to touch a little bit more in depth on that someone wants to share? All right, I'm just gonna read or look through these questions real quick. We love these. We love how everyone kind of takes part in these sessions, and hopefully you guys have had a great day so far today. This is really cool to see. Yeah, by all means, there is a lot of instructional staff, a lot of teachers even on today's tech and learning event. So it's really great to see everything from every angle. But yeah, please, if you feel that this could be a beneficial, like I said, conversation with that tech staff, definitely put us in touch, and we'd love to. I will go ahead and put my email address in the chat as well. One thing I know that Ray did share that a lot of the content will be available. And so I definitely want to make these slides available to you. Like I said, it's a very slimmed down, definitely not salesy approach. We are about information providing. So if you want the slide deck, go ahead and shoot me over an email, and I'll make sure I get that out to you. And like I said, I believe a lot of that content will be accessible online as well. Do you have any suggestion on screen management where the teacher can view the screens? That is another great question. So we do have some suggestions, but at the same time, I guess I can let the cat out of the bag there. FileWave, obviously, for over 20 years has all been dedicated to IT management. We want to still enable those students and learning and things like that, but we know that there are classroom management tools out there right now. At the same time, we can openly understand and not see one that's done cross-platform well. So FileWave has launched a dedicated development team to provide classroom management as well as additional functionalities into the homes like parent portal, et cetera. So we are excited to be able to talk about that maybe in the next few months. With ISTE being rescheduled, I won't say it was helpful, but it's always good to launch big things at ISTE. And so we're really pushing strong to touch on that classroom perspective. Let me jump in there.
I think there's another question in the Q&A there for you.
Yep.
If you want to take a look.
Yeah, how can you help a small district of 200 students? Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, right now it's happening all over the place. We just did a statewide webinar in Louisiana for private schools, and some of those schools were 60, right, 50. The limits are about 50 to 75 devices, right? But absolutely the solution's there for you. So we're very cost effective in that regard. So great question. We'd still love to talk with you. It doesn't matter how many devices, whether it's in the tens of thousands, 60, 70 plus, or 200, right? If everybody needs to manage devices the right way and the most productive, right? So definitely reach out. We would definitely love to have that further that conversation. So thank you for letting me know that. All right. Should I touch on everything?
I think that looks like, what we have for now. I would encourage people,
Yep.
As you said, you have your email in there, that you mentioned earlier about your decks, we can put that in
Absolutely.
the download section of the Conference Hub if people want to get that, or you can send it to them directly. So that will all be available. And I would heartily encourage anyone, if you need to go to another session right now, our friends at FileWave here will be in their virtual booth for the rest of the afternoon. So if you need to go somewhere or take a break and thought of something later, please, they'll be here. You can reach out to them. Looks like, oh, I'm sorry. It looks like there's one more question that just
Yeah,
popped
that's okay. I was gonna close with that,
up.
and Joe asked a great question, right? What's the issue that has been most surprising? And I know that's never fun to talk about in education because we know there's potentially so many issues, and it is kind of alarming, right? That we kind of take it personally that we couldn't help more people just from a notification that FileWave does exist and we can do all this simpler, but it's literally that external connection. A lot of organizations have always felt safe managing devices, making sure they can associate content to them, but within their four walls. And so now that devices are out there, everyone's like, oh, wow, we weren't really potentially set up for that. So now we need to look at, taking care of is not taken care of anymore, right? And so it's a good reality check. Nevertheless, we never want to talk about what it enabled us to happen, but it has happened once, as we all know in education. It only ever needs to happen once for us to get the control, especially in technology, as we, again, going back to budgets. The problem's here, it's not going anywhere, and it's how can we work together to solve it? So yeah, thanks, Ray. Really appreciate everybody attending here. Looks like we had a really great group, a lot of good communications. And so we'll chill here just for a little minute. And again, thanks everybody. And come by our booth, do the chat box, set up a meeting with us. We've got time throughout the rest of the day. A lot of team members available. So thank you.
Great. And I have just before everyone goes, just a little quick closing announcement or two here. Thanks again, everyone. Hope you're enjoying your conference today, getting a lot out of it. I know I am, just from jumping from session to session. There's a lot of great subjects and a lot of great expertise on display here, as we just saw here with FileWave. On behalf of our entire team, thank you for attending today's conference. Special thank you to our sponsors again: FileWave, Catch-On, Classcraft, Global Teletherapy, GradeCam, and Sanford programs. Thank you to all our association partners. Thanks again to Stephen taking the time today. And I want to thank everybody else throughout the day that's been taking their time to share with us. Also, I don't want you, Tech and Learning, like FileWave, trying to help educators. We know it's kind of an extraordinary time. Hope you have a chance to check out our ongoing Lunch and Learn Roundtable webinars every Wednesday this week. On this Wednesday, June 3rd, join Dr. Keisha Ray as she speaks with district leaders about security issues related to online learning as schools plan for the next year. We're looking ahead. Talk about issues such as keeping data private, cybersecurity concerns, and monitoring online activity. To register for that, we encourage you to go to www.techlearning.com/events. I think we're set beyond that. Thank everyone again, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon and your weekend.